Hey guys, here's a tutorial for updating to Unity 2019, and I just updated from 2018.3, so I put it off for quite a bit of time here, and I ran into tons of problems, and you know, I've even seen people run into problems updating from like 2019.3, and I found a couple solutions that really eliminated all of my problems. And I'll also discuss some of the steps you should take before you go ahead and do any updating. And we'll also be discussing some of these scriptable render pipelines and some of the other issues that you might run into going with that. So the first thing I'm going to stress is make a backup before you do anything here and any updating, because, you know, that's just what you should do, because there is no backpedaling updates. And, you know, last thing you want to do is spend your entire, you know, times updating something and then you can't backpedal it in your SOL. That would suck for me. I spent about 5-6 years in this game, and if I lost that data, I would cry really hard. So anyways, let's go ahead and check our updates. Now this one is Unity 2019, so it's going to be all updated, but you can just go ahead and click on help, check for updates, and see which ones are available. I would suggest going to the Unity archive download and just having a look at all the different options available. I ended up going with one of the LTS versions. It's probably your safest bet to go with that one. And the newest one for 2019 just came out on June 9th, 2020. So that's the one I ended up going with. Basically, click on this download link here and it'll take you to a download assistance where you can just basically click on this one and it'll install Unity Hub if you don't have that. If you already have it, no big worry, you just click on that, it'll still go through the steps. So once you do that, go on over to Unity Hub, and you'll notice that in my case, I've got a couple different projects in here. Unity Hub is really handy because now you can kind of look at all the different versions of Unity you have installed. And in this case, here's my newly updated one, which shows me the correct version. And here's my old one, which still shows the old installation of 2018. If you want to update that one, all you got to do is click on the little arrow here and choose 2019. Okay. Now, if everything goes all right for you and you do that, that's good, but in my case, it didn't work. I ended up doing this, and I had a pile of errors. So what I ended up doing was I went to my library folder in my current 2018 game, and I deleted the entire thing. Then I opened up 2018 again and let it recompile the entire library. So now it's kind of like a little bit of like spring cleaning on your project, and I noticed that my library folder had stuff from like other updates. So it was just jam-packed full of garbage. So I ended up repacking that library, recompiling rather, and once I did that, everything worked fine. I debugged and tested my current version in 2018. I made sure that I hit play and checked that everything was good, and everything was fine. Then I proceeded, and I made a backup before I did this. So I had like a couple different versions of backups here, and then I went and converted it to 2019 by here, and when I did that, everything was fine. It had like a couple little errors about some old scripts that I use, like with GUI text. I just basically switched them around to the new Unity UI, because I believe in 2018 there was still some lingering undeprecated script stuff in there, but you'll get some warnings, probably a few of them if there are, and they're fairly simple to fix. So once I did that, everything worked great. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the actual scriptable render pipeline. Oh no, I should stress before I move on with that, when you do update to Unity 2019, you might want to do that before heading off to bed, because it's going to take forever. It took like 6 hours for me, and you know, that's a step that, you know, you could do before heading to bed. So consider that, doing that at the end of the day or something like that, and then heading on to bed, because it takes a while. Now, the next step is if you're wanting to use the built-in pipeline or you want to use the scriptable render pipeline. I'm not using the scriptable render pipeline in this current game because some of my assets aren't supported yet. So before you move on to updating to those pipelines, check all your assets and make sure they work, because if you install it, it's going to break them and there's no going back. So I would strongly suggest before you do anything in the package manager, you make an additional update or an additional backup just to be safe, because there is no backpedaling this stuff either. Now, some packages install and it's it's pretty simple, like nothing really happens. But with these ones, if you install them, it takes a while. So this is another thing you might want to plan ahead. It's going to take a little bit of time depending on the size of your game. So I'm just going to type in RP in here, and then it'll drill down all these scriptable render pipelines available. In 2019.4, you can't actually install this one anymore. I don't know why it's in here. It throws you an error. Basically, the universal one's absorbed all the features of the lightweight one, so you basically only have two now. You've got the high definition one, which is probably less supported by most of your assets than the universal one. But either way, these ones, you'll get all the cool new features like shader graph and some other stuff that you won't get with just the built-in. Now, shader graph is probably the most attractive one, I think, but have a look at their website. You can click on the documentation here and see all the cool things available. So once you do that, basically click on install, and this is going to take a little while to do. So, plan ahead and make sure you have a backup, because there is no going back. Now, technically, you can install this and it's still going to run a whole bunch of crap, but it's not going to alter your game that you can't undo it. All right. And in order to actually make it upgrade to the scriptable render pipeline, you got to go into your build settings. So File, Build Settings, click on Player Settings, all the way up to Graphics, and there's this little area here called the Scriptable Render Pipeline Settings. It's an asset that you have to create. And in order to create that, just go down to, you can actually leave that open, just right click down here or anywhere you want to store this asset. So you can make like a new folder. You can call it Scriptable Render or whatever you want. Just put it somewhere safe where you won't delete it. Right click, create. Now, I don't have the pipeline installed, but when you do, there'll just be an option right below Audio Mixer that says Renderer, and you'll get the different type of assets that you can create. You just basically create it, and then once it's done, drag and drop it into there. All right. Now, there is no going back after you do that. So make sure that you've got a backup, because it's going to convert all of your shaders and do that stuff. Now, the next step is actually going into Edit, Render Pipeline, and generating your shaders. So that is basically going to change everything around, and there is no backpedaling that. Okay. So I have to stress again, make sure you've got all of your assets supported in here. And if I look at my case, I've only got like a couple more that are missing the rendering pipeline, which, I can't wait for it, because I want to have those new features. But currently they just, all the developers are kind of, they're struggling to get on board because they keep changing things around and stuff like that. But once everything's, ready for you to move, you can go ahead and do it. But I wouldn't suggest doing it until everything's supported. All right. So anyways, that is everything that I can think of that helped me move along with this update. Everything is really nice in here too. It's super smooth. I did notice one other thing when I first started up 2019. There is a shader compiler or something working hard. So if you find it a little bit laggy at first, it's probably that some sort of caching system, or someone pointed out that it was the shader compiler compiling a whole bunch of crap in the background, and it was taxing my computer for about 5 minutes, and then it went away, and it was so smooth. It's probably operating at half the memory of 2018 was for me. So that was a huge improvement once I got it. And now it's super smooth, and this is a huge scene. This isn't just some little thing, So it's got a lot of detail in there, and I haven't even baked anything in it. This is just all game objects sitting around everywhere. So yeah, 2019 is looking pretty good. Really excited about it. But yeah, don't stress out. Try deleting that library folder, and just be careful. Make sure you do lots of backups. All right. Well, I hope you found that enjoyable, and hopefully it helped you out. And yeah, any questions, let me know in the comments field below, and I'll put some references to the download links. And you can also check out my Twitch channel too if you want to come bug me and shoot the shit and do all that fun stuff. All right, take her easy. I hope that helped. Thanks.